The studio buzzed with anticipation as Prince William made a rare appearance on Jimmy Kimmel's show. The audience clapped politely, curious to see a royal in such a relaxed setting. William smiled, poised and polite. Jimmy cracked his usual jokes, but the air shifted when he began poking fun at the monarchy. William kept his composure, but tension began to simmer beneath his calm exterior as Jimmy crossed lines few dared to. Jimmy smirked and leaned forward. "So, William," he said, "what's it like knowing your grandma ran the world longer than most people keep jobs?" The audience chuckled, but William gave a strained smile. "She served with grace," he replied. Jimmy pressed on, mocking royal traditions and even referencing scandals involving other royals. William's eyes darkened, though he remained civil. Behind the smile, frustration brewed. Jimmy wasn't done. "And what about Harry?" he asked, raising his eyebrows. "You two still exchanging Christmas cards or just icy glares across the pond?" The crowd roared with laughter. William's jaw clenched. "That's private," he said firmly. Jimmy shrugged. "Come on, man. The world's curious." William's gaze sharpened. The show had taken a turn, and it was clear the prince was no longer enjoying the banter. Trying to regain control, William chuckled stiffly. "Let's talk about service, Jimmy. The kind that goes beyond headlines." But Jimmy interrupted, saying, "Sure, but people aren't tuning in to hear about charities. They want drama." That remark made William shift in his seat. The tension grew as Jimmy mocked Buckingham Palace's supposed relevance. Questioning why taxpayers still fund royal affairs, William replied, voice low and steady. "The institution represents continuity, duty, and sacrifice, not drama." Jimmy laughed. "Continuity? You guys still use carriages?" The audience laughed nervously. William leaned in. "Respect doesn't go out of fashion," he said. Jimmy smirked, sensing the discomfort but pushing further. "Do you think Britain really needs kings and queens in 2025? He asked pointedly. William paused. "That's not for me to decide," he said. "It's for the people." Jimmy scoffed. "Sounds like a guy prepping for retirement early." A hush fell over the crowd. William's smile dropped. "I came here in good faith," he said, "not to be ridiculed." Jimmy shrugged, still wearing his trademark grin. "Hey, we joke with everyone, even politicians get roasted." William's posture stiffened visibly. Things turned colder when Jimmy displayed a photoshopped image of William in a fast food uniform with the caption, "When the crown gets repossessed." The crowd gave mixed reactions. William didn't smile. "That's enough," he said, his tone sharp. Jimmy raised his hands playfully. "Oh, we're hitting nerves now," he said. William's gaze locked with his, unamused and unmoved by the comedian's antics. Kimmel, sensing an opportunity for viral drama, said, "Come on, William, lighten up, even Charles would laugh." The crowd gasped. William stood slowly. "I've tolerated enough disrespect," he said quietly. A producer offstage looked panicked. Jimmy laughed awkwardly. "It's just jokes, man." William stared him down. "Jokes become poison when repeated as truth," he replied coldly. The audience didn't know whether to clap or stay silent. William continued, "I speak for a legacy built on duty, not internet mockery." Jimmy shrugged. "It's a comedy show. You royals need thicker skin." William shook his head. "It's not about skin. It's about integrity." With that, he took off his mic and handed it to a stunned stagehand. Security and staff scrambled behind the scenes. Jimmy tried to recover, saying, "Guess we touched a royal nerve," but his laughter fell flat. William turned to the audience. "Never mistake silence for weakness. Dignity doesn't shout, but it stands tall." The room was silent. Producers rushed to cut to commercial, but the damage was done. William exited the stage, his back straight, his jaw clenched. Social media exploded within seconds. Clips of the exchange flooded the internet. "Prince walks out on Kimmel," read one headline. Others hailed William for standing up to disrespect. Still, critics accused him of lacking humor. Memes poured in from both sides. Buckingham Palace refused comment, but insiders confirmed the prince was deeply displeased. Kimmel, however, doubled down in the next episode. "Apparently, I'm now banned from tea time at the palace," Jimmy quipped. Laughter followed, but many viewers felt he crossed a line. Even some celebrities chimed in, defending William's reaction. "There's roasting," said one actress on Twitter, "and then there's being rude." The debate raged for days, with fans split over who was right. But William had made his statement. Kimmel's ratings soared, but respect waned in some circles. Meanwhile, William continued with his scheduled engagements, choosing not to respond further. At a youth summit, he addressed dignity under pressure. "In a world loud with mockery," he said, "grace is rebellion." Many interpreted it as a subtle nod to the late-night debacle. Supporters admired his restraint. Behind palace doors, staff reviewed future interview policies. "No more talk show stunts," one aide muttered. The Queen Consort was reportedly appalled by the disrespect. "William handled it with poise," she said to aides. Meanwhile, Jimmy prepared his next show with jokes already lined up. At least I didn't call him Harry, he joked during rehearsals, still poking the bear. But producers warned Jimmy, "You've already sparked a royal mess. Tread carefully." Rumors swirled about Kimmel being blacklisted from royal media events. British tabloids had a field day. "Prince William exits in fury," one screamed. Others compared him to his mother, Diana, who also walked away from toxic media. The comparison wasn't lost on anyone. William had drawn a boundary. International reactions varied. In the U.S., some mocked William for lacking a sense of humor. In the U.K., many praised his decorum. "He reminded people what real class looks like," said one anchor. Royal experts debated whether this would impact future public appearances, but for William, the choice was clear: never again lend dignity to a stage built for mockery. Days later, during an engagement in Manchester, a child asked him, "Why were you mad on TV?" William smiled gently. "Sometimes standing tall means walking away," he said. The answer trended on social media. Meanwhile, Kimmel avoided royal topics briefly, but then quipped, "If I disappear, it's because the Queen sent MI6. The joke didn't land well. Some boos echoed in the studio. Sponsors began to call. A luxury watch brand expressed concern about associating with mean-spirited mockery. Jimmy's team scrambled to do damage control. Internally, ABC questioned whether future royal guests would even consider the show again. William's silence had become more powerful than any rebuttal. In fact, it had made him more popular in certain circles. Online, hashtags exploded. #Stand with William and Kimmel out of line. Influencers posted reaction videos dissecting every facial twitch from both men. Body language experts called it a masterclass in composure. Jimmy's smirk, once charming, now felt hollow to many. William's quiet resistance had struck a nerve in the digital world, and it wasn't going away soon. Kimmel issued a lukewarm statement. "We regret if any jokes were taken the wrong way. Our show aims to entertain, never to offend." But fans noted the lack of a direct apology. Buckingham Palace still stayed silent. Yet behind closed doors, William's team took notes. A source close to the prince said, "He'll choose future platforms more wisely. Trust, once burned, rarely returns." William continued his public duties. His approval ratings in the UK spiked, while U.S. reactions remained divided. At a university lecture, he spoke on leadership. "Real strength," he said, "is not proving the world wrong. It's remaining right in the face of mockery." Applause followed. Clearly the prince had moved on, but Jimmy's show felt the bruise every time his name trended again. British media doubled down in defense. "Kimmel mocked a symbol," one editorial read. "William reminded us he's human." American networks invited royal commentators to debate the moment. Was it too far? Was he too sensitive? The conversation didn't die. It evolved. William became a trending symbol of quiet dignity, while Kimmel struggled to escape the growing backlash. As weeks passed, Kimmel's ratings plateaued. The buzz had faded, replaced by lingering awkwardness. William, however, was invited to more international forums. He showed class, one diplomat said. Even critics admitted that while Jimmy stirred laughs, William won respect. A Netflix documentary even hinted at including the clash as a key moment in modern royal media history. During a podcast, a former palace advisor said, "That wasn't just a TV moment, it was a statement of boundaries." William never addressed it directly again, but his silence spoke volumes. Behind the scenes, Hollywood producers took note. "That kind of grace under fire, it's rare," one said. Jimmy tried to pivot to safer content, but the shadow of that night still loomed. Comedians debated the limits of humor. "Are royals off-limits?" one asked on a panel. The conversation spiraled into ethics, responsibility, and the price of a viral moment. Meanwhile, William was seen helping at a children's hospital away from flashing cameras. Photos of him kneeling beside a sick child flooded social media. People remembered what truly matters. In a surprise twist, an old clip resurfaced. Diana, walking away from paparazzi, shielding her sons. The internet made the connection immediately. "Like mother, like son," captions read. William's calm refusal to be mocked had become a cultural milestone. Some said it marked a shift, when audiences began craving more sincerity and less cruelty in entertainment. One late-night host broke the silence. Jimmy crossed a line. "Not every guest is a punchline," he said. Viewers applauded the honesty. Other talk shows adjusted their tone subtly, careful with future guests. William's silent stance had triggered an unspoken recalibration. Not through outrage, but through composed departure. A new line had been drawn. Jimmy eventually invited a royal historian on the show, trying to lighten the tension. "You sure the Crown's not gonna sue me?" he joked. The laughter was nervous, the energy off. William's absence was louder than his presence had been. It became clear, some guests elevate the room, others just fill time. William had transcended the format entirely. Months later, William was honored at a humanitarian gala. He made no mention of Kimmel or the incident, but in his speech he said, "Let the world be loud, we will be still. Let the world mock, we will serve." It was subtle, elegant, and unmistakably directed at all who'd watched that infamous night. The audience gave a standing ovation. Even critics nodded. Back in L.A., Jimmy looked out at his audience. The seat once reserved for Prince William now stayed conspicuously empty. A lesson lingered in the space. Not all guests are there to be laughed at. Some bring gravity, history, and grace. And when you mock that, sometimes they walk out. Not in anger, but in dignity. And that more than anything is unforgettable.